You can't stop scrolling because you lack self-respect. It's not even that you're undisciplined, it's just the fact that your standards for yourself could be higher, but they're not. But honestly, I went through the exact same thing. I vividly remember I would be actively trying to stop scrolling. Like I'd be trying all the tricks, I'd try to put a blocker on my phone, screen time limit, the whole shebang, right? But it's like I'd make a tiny bit of progress. Like maybe I wouldn't scroll as much one day, and then the next day I'd scroll even longer than I used to. I used to scroll around 12 hours. Maybe on that next day I'd scroll 14 or even 16. And the thing is, that's not unique. You know exactly what I'm talking about, where it's like you try to make a little bit of progress, but you constantly self-sabotage against yourself. And honestly, I think a large part of that is the kind of advice that's out there for scrolling, right? Most of the time you hear use like screen time limits or blockers or like little tricks like that, or you hear stuff that says like reduce it over time, like progressive overload. And those don't work. Because simply put, the little bit of progress that you do make from them is offset by the self-sabotage that you eventually do. And I remember I would keep continually self-sabotaging, and I didn't understand why. Because it's like, logically, you want to stop scrolling. You want to improve your life. It's proven because you're watching this video right now. You want to improve your life. But it feels like you're fighting against yourself. I realized, and this realization genuinely changed my life. I realized that it's not that I'm self-sabotaging. It's that I'm going back to who I think I am. I was going back to my self-image because subconsciously, without realizing it, I saw myself as the kind of guy who scrolls, as the kind of guy who just sits back and wastes 6, 8 hours a day just like that. I saw myself as that kind of person. And so when I wasn't consciously thinking, right, when I'm just like going throughout my day, that's what I would revert to. Because this is important. Remember this. You revert back to your self-image. So think of a smoker, right? Even they could try extremely hard to not smoke. And honestly, using willpower, you can go a long way. But the moment they stop thinking about it, right? The moment they go from conscious thinking to subconscious thinking, it's like they pull out the cigarette, light it, put it in their mouth without even realizing it, right? Zero thoughts in their head, but simply put, their body, their brain reverts back to their self-image. They see themselves as a smoker, and so without thinking, they smoke. The same thing is happening to you right now. You see yourself as a guy who scrolls, and you might not even realize it, but it's true. And you're going to keep reverting back to it no matter how much willpower you put into it. That's the big thing you got to realize too. Willpower isn't what's going to help you here, because at the end of the day, this is an uphill battle against yourself, and you're not going to win against yourself. What really will work though, once you realize that self-image is the problem, it's the root of the problem, not the scrolling addiction. It's just the fact that you see yourself as someone who scrolls. When you realize that, the only logical solution here is to change your self-image, right? Because if you change your self-image to someone who's disciplined, who doesn't scroll, that means without thinking, that's what you're going to revert to. That means you can be disciplined without even thinking about it. You won't even think about scrolling if you just change your self-image. And so this is the practical advice I have for you. There's two ways to change your self-image. There's a long, hard way, and the actual easy way that I'll tell you, right? You're going to need to do both. Long way is just eventually slowly changing your habits, and eventually your identity will catch up to that, right? This is just over time, right? This will eventually happen if you just keep trying. But the second way, which I had to learn the hard way because it really sped up my progress, visualize your future self, whatever your goal is, visualize him, and then act like him now. So back around 2 years ago, I would constantly visualize the version of me who was disciplined, who worked hard, who was fulfilled in his life, who actually enjoyed his life so much that he didn't even have to scroll. I'm that person now. But I only got here because past me visualized that person and then took steps to act like him now. Mind you, I'm not telling you to start acting like him immediately because honestly, you won't be able to. What you can do is take steps towards becoming that person. If you continually take steps to become that kind of person that you want to become, scrolling won't be a problem for you anymore. Because your identity will eventually catch up, you'll get to the point where you don't even think about scrolling. Now, this is a very deep lesson that I had to learn from multiple years of experience, and I've actually started to help guys one-on-one with the scrolling addiction. Basically, if you want to see if you're right fit for it, there's a Google form in the description that you can fill out. I don't accept everyone because honestly, I work with the guys who I know I can help the most. So if you want to see if you're that guy, link in the description.